Audi A4 B9 come to the service center mainly for basic maintenance. However, even if the operation of the Audi A4 B9 is limited to basic maintenance, this does not mean that ownership will be very cheap. This car cannot be serviced without good specialized equipment and a specialized workshop. For example, to correctly change the oil in a DSG gearbox, you need a diagnostic tool. Transmission oil can mix with differential oil, causing damage. The replacement instructions even recommend checking the oil level in the differential to ensure that oil does not get into the wrong places. Another example. The cooling system can only be filled using special vacuum equipment. In fact, there is nothing you can do here on your own. Almost every operation in the mechanic's manual requires the use of new bolts and a specific tightening sequence. For example, the oil pan on a 1.4 TSI is held in place by 19 bolts. In the case of the 1.4 TSI engine, attention is drawn to the description of the tightening of the crankshaft main bearings. It is impossible to measure the bearing clearance in the usual way. And you shouldn't try to do this, as you can damage the engine block and crankshaft. If the bearing bolts become loose, the cylinder block and crankshaft must be replaced. Therefore, you should not trust the servicing of the Audi A4 B9 to random mechanics. True, service centers, both official and independent, ask good money for their work. The question then arises, if you don't save on service, can you avoid trouble? At the end of the day, we must have an advantage through technology. I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro. In general, the reliability situation is not bad, especially if you can find a regularly serviced A4 that is treated with care. Thus, problems with timing chains, known from the older 1.4, or huge oil consumption, 2.0 TFSI, do not occur here. But, unfortunately, it is impossible to completely get rid of problems. There are minor drawbacks in the form of equipment malfunction, the elimination of which costs a tidy sum. The petrol range starts with the 1.4 TFSI. This small unit is a good choice, especially if you move slowly. Cases of increased oil consumption have been recorded, but this does not apply to all cars. Although the engine is not that bad, in 2019 it was replaced with a weakened 2-liter version, derated to 150 horsepower. A typical problem with the 2.0 TFSI is a coolant leak due to a cracked thermostat housing. The 252 horsepower version of the 2.0 TFSI has additionally updated the engine management software. More powerful gasoline engines, 2.9 bi-turbo or 3.0 turbo, were given to the sports versions of the RS4 and S4. They are rare, and no common problems have yet been heard of. Petrol V6s belong to the new EA839 family, which debuted on the market in 2016. They have an interesting design, the cylinder camber angle is 90 degrees. The more powerful 2.9 bi-turbo, 450 horsepower, uses 2 turbines, which are located in the camber of the block. Among the offers there are also diesel versions, mainly with the immortal 2-liter unit. This is a very good choice. Equipment wear and tear is not a concern in this case, and the days when diesel engines were forced to deal with injector or turbocharger failures seem to be gone. In the case of a 2-liter turbo diesel, the belt driving the camshafts should be renewed early. Some sources believe that it does not need preventive replacement, while others insist on the 210,000 km regulation regardless of time. There are known cases of belt breaks even on regularly serviced cars with a mileage of 150 to 200,000 km. Therefore, it is better to play it safe on the segment of 120 to 140,000 km, since the consequences of a break can be tragic. It is noteworthy that 2-liter diesels have an electrically driven coolant pump, but many mechanics recommend updating it along with the belt. Sometimes these engines have a problem with the oil pressure light. She shouldn't be underestimated. But this is not at all a harbinger of a major engine overhaul. Most often, a clogged pressure regulator is to blame. There are also malfunctions of the AdBlue urea injection system. A warning lamp is displayed and information that the system cannot be started. The reason is the failure of the refrigerant pump, which is connected to the controller and the tank. The dream of many drivers remains a 3-liter diesel car. In the engines of the initial production period, problems were observed with the camshafts. The gears that were part of the shaft were knocking. The manufacturer organized a service campaign to eliminate the defect. In mild hybrids 2.0, there was a possibility of the starter generator overheating, which could even lead to a fire. The reason is moisture ingress, which provokes a chemical reaction, short circuit and local overheating of the component. The manufacturer replaced the starter generator as part of a service campaign. Sometimes the DSG gearbox fails, although not as often as before. For example, jerking may occur when starting, especially on a warm engine. Sometimes updating the software and adapting the clutch helps. As a last resort, you have to climb into the box. The 4-cylinder engines were equipped with a 7-speed S-tronic DSG DL382. Structurally, it is an analog of the DQ381, known from the younger Superbs, but modified for longitudinal installation. A common problem is oil leaks through the seal between the plastic oil sump and the aluminum box casing. All-wheel drive versions were equipped with Quattro or Quattro Ultra Drive, depending on the engine. Quattro has torsion installed. In this transmission, at some point a grinding noise may be heard when starting off with the wheels turned out. In this case, changing the oil in the differential helps. Some owners have had to replace the entire center differential assembly. The Ultra Drive uses a Magna multiplate clutch instead of a Thorson. The clutch is located directly at the output of the transmission, which eliminates the need to unwind the driveshaft. This was done in order to reduce fuel consumption. This option appeared in the model's portfolio in 2016. The multi-link front suspension provides perfect handling. However, the owners note that its resource is lower than that of its predecessor. Fortunately, repairs are inexpensive. Some Audi A4 B9 owners complain about electronics and electrical components. Sometimes the alarm goes off for no reason, and the navigation system gets lost and does not show the map. It is worth checking the serviceability of the airbags. The controller or actuator board is failing. Sometimes the headlights fog up, or the matrix headlights malfunction. In 2018 cars, it was possible to install a standard towing device, a tow hook. The tilt mechanism lock did not work correctly, the locking pin could break. Repairs were carried out free of charge under warranty. Elegant, dynamic and well-assembled Audi A4 B9 collects many rave reviews from owners who are ready to forgive him a lot. In practice there are not so many problems. Unfortunately, if something breaks, repairs are often expensive.